The sudden political earthquake that came with the axing of Higher Education Deputy Minister Nkabane has sent ripples across South Africa's academic, political, and public sectors. But in a twist that few saw coming, yet many now say was long overdue, President Cyril Ramaphosa's bold move to reshuffle and remove her has been largely welcomed by the very community her office was meant to serve, South Africa's academia. In the halls of universities, in policy circles, and even among student leadership, the message is nearly unanimous: the president had no choice. And now that the decision has landed, a fresh chapter might just be beginning for South Africa's fractured and underperforming higher education system. Before we dive deep into what this means, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. This is SA Unfiltered, where we give you nothing but the sharpest, cleanest, and most honest breakdowns of South Africa's political landscape. Whether you're a policymaker, a student, a voter, or just someone who's tired of the same recycled narratives, this is your space. Subscribe now so you never miss a moment of clarity in the chaos. Back to the story. The political atmosphere leading up to Nkabane's removal had already been charged. Whispers in parliament, murmurs in university corridors, and silent frustration among department officials had been growing. Many pointed to what they described as a lack of direction, erratic policy stances, underperformance in key reform areas, and a worrying detachment from the urgent realities facing students and institutions alike. For a country still reeling from student protests over funding, systemic exclusions, dilapidated infrastructure, and the ongoing brain drain of talented lecturers and researchers, her leadership, or the lack thereof, was no longer just a bureaucratic issue. It had become a crisis of national concern. So when the axe finally fell, some expected backlash, especially from political factions with vested interests. Instead, what followed was something close to relief. Academics from leading institutions, including Wits, UCT, Stellenbosch, and Fort Hare, came forward with carefully worded, but clear, support for the president's decision. One senior academic from Rhodes University didn't mince words: this was a corrective measure, not a political maneuver. The president had no choice. Higher education is too important to be managed like a portfolio you hand to the next available party loyalist. Even student organizations, often divided by ideology and strategy, found unexpected common ground. The South African Union of Students, along with several SRC leaders from across the country, described the reshuffle as a breath of fresh accountability. One student leader from the University of Limpopo noted, "We've raised our concerns for years. The inaction, the deflection, the slow pace of transformation, it was unsustainable. We commend the president for stepping up." Insiders close to the administration revealed that the tipping point came when Ramaphosa was presented with internal audit reports, advisory memos, and minutes from interdepartmental meetings that painted a stark picture: poor coordination with NSFAS during a funding crisis, lack of proactive engagement with university leadership, and an absence of clear progress on long-promised reforms. And with the new administration under immense pressure to stabilize, perform, and differentiate itself from the scandals and stagnation of the last decade, keeping Nkabane would have been politically fatal. Ramaphosa, known for his cautious and consensus-seeking style, seemed to shift gears decisively. The message was clear: incompetence, even if politically convenient, will no longer be tolerated in portfolios where performance directly shapes the nation's future. It's a statement that resonates deeply within the education sector. South Africa's universities are some of the best on the continent, yet they remain under immense pressure. Budget cuts, staff shortages, systemic exclusion of black academics, and underfunded research portfolios continue to throttle innovation and transformation. Under Nkabane's watch, critics say these issues were not only neglected but exacerbated by policy drift and a lack of real urgency. One academic from the University of Pretoria shared, "We don't expect miracles, but we expect leadership. We expect someone who understands the weight of this portfolio and is willing to roll up their sleeves." That wasn't happening. This move signals a chance to reboot. And that reboot is already underway. Enter Buti Manamela, a familiar face, but one with fresh urgency. Having served previously as the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, he's seen as someone who understands the inner workings of the department, has long-standing relationships with universities and unions, and more importantly, doesn't need a crash course in what's broken. His appointment is being met with cautious optimism. Manamela's return to the ministry signals more than just continuity. It suggests a sharpened focus on performance, on implementation, on accountability. He knows the terrain, said a source within the ministry. But this time, the stakes are higher. The president is watching. The sector is watching. The nation is watching. Still, challenges loom. NSFAS remains a hotbed of frustration. Students continue to face financial barriers, delayed allowances, and confusing bureaucratic hoops that often cost them their academic year. Infrastructure remains crumbling in historically disadvantaged institutions. The digital divide continues to hamper rural students. These are not issues that can be solved by shuffling one name for another. But what Ramaphosa has made clear is that he is no longer willing to accept stasis. And that sends a ripple effect down the political chain. The broader implications of this reshuffle are equally important. The message to ministers and deputy ministers across the cabinet is now written in bold: perform or prepare to pack your bags. Gone are the days when cabinet positions could be treated like political retirement packages. The ANC, now grappling with coalition governance and a legitimacy deficit, can't afford weak links in strategic portfolios. Education, health, policing, energy, these are the front lines. And the public is watching closely. Political analysts agree that this might be the start of a new kind of cabinet culture, one that's leaner, more focused, and unapologetically ruthless when it comes to delivery. The risk, of course, is that it may provoke internal resistance. Nkabane, like many, had her political backers. But even among her allies, there's a growing realization that defending underperformance is a luxury the ANC can no longer afford. We've moved beyond factions, said a former MP, we're in the era of survival now. If we don't deliver, we are done. It's that simple. Public sentiment also appears to be shifting. While many South Africans are skeptical of politicians in general, decisive action still earns respect. Social media platforms were buzzing in the days following the reshuffle, with many users praising the president's decisiveness. Memes, political cartoons, and even campus debates began to frame the moment as a rare win for accountability. For a president who is often accused of being too cautious, too calculating, this was a moment of clarity. And perhaps most notably, this decision aligns with the kind of leadership young South Africans have been demanding for years.